Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to the Hungaroring and the start of the second half of the International GTOpen season for 2018. An hour around the 4.38 kilometre home of the Hungarian Grand Prix awaits us and a full field of 26 cars. This brings us to the midpoint of the campaign and into the summer break before the running kicking off at the start of September at Silverstone. Let's hello from Ben Evans and welcome to a very warm and humid afternoon here at the Hungaroring. There is a large crowd out to enjoy the action, and based on yesterday's race, I think we could be in for another treat. Yesterday, we saw Daniel Serra claiming victory alongside Marco Ciocci in the Luzik Racing Ferrari, and Serra lines up third on the grid for this afternoon. But it's Alain Cadet in the DriveX Mercedes that he shares in the Pro-Am class with Marcello Hahn, who took pole position after a couple of spectacular laps during qualifying earlier on this morning. And there you see the blue Mercedes poised on the grid. Cadet, who's raced with great success in GT racing in South America, has rapidly established himself as one of the quickest drivers in the GTOpen field. And what I think is quite ominous for the rest of the pack is just how consistent he was during that qualifying session as well, leaping over the curbs in the DriveX Mercedes en route to pole. A couple of very, very impressive laps from the Brazilian driver.
Yes, I'm very, very happy. Special moment in my career. It's been tough and very good battle since we started here last year. I'm very happy for the team, for my partner, 12 years partner, and also because it's a very special race, because my first partner, 25 years ago, he's here watching for us. So I don't know. I'm very, very happy.
So delighted Alain Cadet after qualifying. He shares the front row of the grid with the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan of Rick Breukers. He and Riccardo Agostini finished fourth yesterday, and but for a few more minutes could have challenged for the podium. It's a very well-matched driver pairing, this one. And given that they're not carrying any success seconds into this afternoon's race, they could be certainly in contention for victory, all things running smoothly. Daniel Serra returning to the International GTOpen for the first time in over a decade to partner Marco Ciocci this weekend in the third of the Luzik Racing Ferraris, and they cemented their first outing as a partnership by claiming victory yesterday. It was from pole position. Fran Rueda's very best lap in qualifying got lost to track limits, but he bounced back and has done enough to put himself and Andres Saravia on the outside of the second row of the grid. Rueda and Saravia second in the championship coming into today's race, trailing this car, the number 51 entry of Alessandro Pierguidi and Michael Mack. It is Mack who leads the championship, as Pierguidi had to miss out on being at Paul Ricard, but a fairly commanding advantage at the top of the standings. 72 points for Mack compared to 57 for Saravia and Rueda. Sixth on the grid then for Fernando Reis, who didn't even get the chance to get behind the wheel of the Ombra Racing Lamborghini yesterday after Damiano Fioravanti and Jerome Mull tangled early on. Bradley Ellis lines up second in the Pro-Am class and seventh overall at the wheel of the Optimum Motorsport Audi. Ellis and Oliver Wilkinson could well be in contention for a Pro-Am podium this afternoon. Eighth on the grid, the good weekend for the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing team continues. Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling at the wheel of the number 6 car. It's Liberati who has put the car on the fourth row of the grid. They were forced into retirement yesterday despite showing some brilliant pace. Raffaele Giamria, the third of the Pro-Am qualifiers, another driver who was frustrated yesterday having to bring the car into an early retirement, but he and Jiatong Liang pursuing Pro-Am class win and trip to the podium. Daniele Diamato couldn't quite get that perfect lap together in qualifying, so he lines up in the RS Racing Ferrari in 10th place. But Diamato has got an awful lot of latent pace, as does that car. 11th on the grid for Spa pole sitter David Perel in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari that he's sharing this weekend with Rinat Salakov. And again, the South African driver, from what we saw of him in qualifying, just seemed to catch traffic at the wrong moments. But again, very quick competitor. Reigning champion then, Giovanni Venturini, from 12th on the grid. He and Jerome Mull, they're looking to get back onto the podium. It's going to be a long afternoon's work for them, but they're a very quick and capable pairing. So that is how the front runners look. Let's have a look at the very best of what happened yesterday. And off the line, it was Marco Ciocci who led from Tom Onslow Cole as the field fanned out en route to the first corner, with Fabrizio Cristani trying to squeeze Onslow Cole. They all made it through the first turn safely, but then there were tangles later on. First lap, Wilkinson tagged by Borleghi. This was the moment that eliminated Fioravanti and Jerome Mull at turn 1. That was the ends of Alberto Di Folco and Kang Ling. Meanwhile, Daniel Karwitz flying in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari in the first half of the race, moving clear of Ciocci and Toby Sowry, likewise doing a phenomenal job from the very back of the grid. Post pit stops, Daniele Diamato just a little bit too anxious to move clear of Rick Broikers, tagging the 25 car, but it was Daniel Serra who came through to take the victory alongside Marco Ciocci. Runners-up, Onslow Cole and Valentin Pierberg winning the Pro-Am class, with Ramos and Cristani completing the podium. So the grid being cleared now, just a couple of moments away from the cars being sent off on the green flag formation lap. It is a 60-minute race. There is the mandatory pit stop between the 24th and 36th minute, so a 12-minute window to start to bring in that element of strategy to proceedings. Just enough time for a selfie then before the action gets going. All the cars, of course, running on the Control Michelin tyre. And given that we had a wet qualifying session yesterday, then it'd be interesting to see some of the tyre strategies deployed over the course of the race. They're poised in the cockpit. The heat haze shimmering off the grid. Marcello Hahn heading back towards the DriveX pit box, and there's not much more that he or the team can do from this point other than watch on the monitors and hope that all goes well through the first couple of turns, because this is a circuit which is challenging to overtake on, and what we saw yesterday was the field were extremely tightly bunched through free practice on Friday. The word was that there wasn't going to be an awful lot between really first place and 20th place. That's exactly how it proved to be in qualifying this morning. And because this Hungaroring is a little bit narrower than some of the tracks, overtaking can be tricky. So Alan Kader and Rick Broikers, a very rapid front row. 4 different marks in the top 4 places then, with Daniel Serra and Fran Rader on row 2. Championship leading 51 car, Alessandro Pierguidi lines up alongside Fernando Reis on row 3. Bradley Ellis and Eduardo Liberati, 2 drivers likely to charge from the 4th row. Second in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis, Raffaele Giammaria alongside Daniele Diamato, an all-Italian driver and car pairing on row 5. David Prell just clear of Giovanni Venturini, a very, very talented 6th row of the grid. Michele Rugolo should fly from row 7. Stefano Constantini could well play in Alberto Di Folco late on. Marcin Jedlinski in the Olymp Racing Audi lines up in 15th, just clear of Lorenzo Beirao de Viega in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. Thiago Marquez then on AM Class pole in the 3rd of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMWs, alongside Caco Bueno in the 2nd DriveX Mercedes. Yesterday's runner-up, Valentin Pierberg, starts 19th, ahead of Zendo Mikalsko. Miguel Ramos from 21st, ahead of Andrei Lewandowski. Row 12, Giuseppe Cipriani and Luis Silva, with the grid completed by Christian Hook and Alexander Raquina. So that is how they'll line up. They've got the formation lap starting any second now. So a large crowd here at the Hungaroring as the cars are about to be released onto the green flag lap ahead of this, the 8th race of the International GTOpen season. And we should be in for another very keenly contested encounter. Moment of peak nerves inside the pit boxes, because yesterday's race was something of a cavalry charge down towards the first turn, and today is going to be no different. as Alain Kader in the DriveX Mercedes leads them away. Rick Breukers, the bright green Imperiale Racing Lamborghini, alongside them on the front row. It is the red and white Luzic Racing Ferrari of Daniel Serra, and they're predominantly white with orange and blue flashes. Teo Martin Motorsport debut of Fran Rueda on row 2. In car with Keke Bueno in the new for this weekend DriveX entry that he shares with Ricardo Baptista. And Bueno qualifying right in the midfield, 18th position, the 5-time Brazilian stock car champion. Fernando Reis was looking very quick all the way through the qualifying session. We ride in car with him now in the Ombra Racing Lamborghini Huracan. And Reis and Fioravanti, they had a great weekend at Paul Ricard. But then it didn't quite go according to plan at Spa-Francorchamps. They will be certainly an outside bet for a podium, if not race victory this afternoon, because the way that performance is balanced out through the season is with success seconds added to the pit stop time of the most successful drivers. And that means that yesterday's race winners, Daniel Serra and Marco Ciocci, have got an additional 15 seconds in the pits, and it's an additional 20 seconds for Alessandro Pierguidi and Mikael Mackin, the other of the all-pro Luzic Racing Ferraris. So that opens the door to the likes of Rick Breukers and Fernando Reis, and also Fran Rueda and Andres Saravia, take advantage of those pit handicaps and really fight for victory late on. But the start here at the Hungaroring is all important. That run down towards the first corner, really the best overtaking opportunity around the track. There are other places that you can hustle your way through, but the corners come in very close succession, one after another. Nothing much at all except for the start and finish straight in the way of long straights. So there's the little punch from turn 3 to turn 4, and likewise the section of the track they're on now from turn 10 through to turn 11. So the field forming up side by side, making an absolutely magnificent sight. Once more, large entry to the International GTOpen this weekend, as Daniel Karwitz and Rinat Salakov try to look relaxed in the Rinaldi Racing pit box. As soon the pace car will peel off into the pit lane, then it will be the responsibility of Alain Kader to pace the field through turn 13 and get ready for the rolling start. Waiting for the thunder to be released at the Hungaroring. The field feels like crawls through the final hairpin. When they come out, they will see the red lights on the gantry and wait for the lights to change as Kader paces the pack. They come through the final turn, waiting for the lights to change, which they do now, and it's a great start from Alain Kader, as behind they all fan out, squeezing towards the pit wall is Daniel Serra by Rick Breukers, but Kader timed that absolutely beautifully, and he has got a fairly healthy buffer as they arrive into the first turn. Behind, if they all made it through safely, no they haven't. There's been a little bit of a tag there to Thiago Marquez by the ARC Bratislava car, and Fernando Reis has also lost out. He's been shuffled a long way back and rejoins just behind Daniele Diamato. Meanwhile, the Luzic Racing Ferrari is trying to squeeze out the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. Rick Breukers, and there's contact, and tipped sideways there is Daniel Serra. There's more Cummings together a little bit further back. Everybody jostling for position, and they're going to be 3 wide almost as they arrive into turn 4. Hopefully they'll make it through in some sort of order. Well, nobody's gone into the tyre wall, which is good news. Fran Rueda's gained a place. He's passed one of the Ferraris, and that's Daniel Serra. So Pierguidi up into 3rd position as Alain Kader leads the way. Breukers 2nd, Pierguidi 3rd. As Diamato shuts the door and Raffaele Giammaria, that was fairly abrupt. David Perel right behind in the box seat. And a little bit of bodywork coming off, I think, the Bradley Ellis car, the Oxford Motorsport Audi, as they come out of turn 9 through the right-hander at turn 10. Field pretty much running up as one at this stage in the race. I just wonder if Daniel Serra, now that's Michele Rugolo, who just taps into Giovanni Venturini. Lorenzo Berardivier also looking to take the challenge, as is Marcin Jedlinski. Keke Bueno, there he is, in the black DriveX Mercedes, trying to go around the outside of the Vodafone Lamborghini, Miguel Ramos. And they're all still running as Kader leads by 2.2 seconds over Rick Broikers. Pierguidi third, Raider fourth, Serra fifth, Liberati sixth, Ellis seventh, D'Amato into eighth, Rafael Giaria ninth. David Perel completes the top 10 as the ALC Bratislava car comes from a long way back and thumps into the side of Thiago Marquez. Two of the front runners in the AM class. And sadly, it would appear as if Marquez has possibly gone out on the spot. In car with Bueno. And it is Miguel Ramos who's just ahead of him as they pick their way downhill through turns 2 and 3. And then sprint on towards turn 4. That is the battle for 18th and 19th position. Here's the sister DriveX Mercedes of Alain Kader, who leads the way. They turn that gap to Broikers, Pierguidi and the rest of them. Oh, and just a wheel over the curb there for Eduardo Liberati, trying to kick the car sideways. Meanwhile, Michele Rugolo all over the tail of Fernando Reis, a little bit further back down the pack. There you have it, the blue and white Ombra Lamborghini under real pressure. And have we got a safety car? Question mark. There's waved yellow flags. You can just see in the background as they come out of turn 10. And yes, we do. The safety car, oh, has come out on a big instant. Stefano Constantini coming together with Marcin Jedlinski. And Constantini, the Target Racing Lamborghini Huracan, has absolutely clattered in to the Armco barrier as they were slowing down for the safety car. So the race being neutralised, there's now 2 incidents that are going to require retrieval. Pleased to see that Constantini is okay. And there, sadly, is Zdeno Mikolsko's LC Bratislava car, after that coming together with Thiago Marquez. And bits of Lamborghini Huracan scattered all over the circuit there. And Ter Martin, I think the facial expression tells you exactly his thoughts about what happened over at turn 1, as Kolausko was just a little bit unsighted, I think, as he came in. Didn't realise the BMW was going to turn across his bows and thumped into the side of Thiago Marquez as a result. So for Alain Kader, all of the advantage that he gained through that lightning start whittled away, and of course behind the safety car the race clock keeps ticking down. The pit window opens when there's going to be 36 minutes left on the clock. Now here's another look at the start. Kader just rocketed away and had a good 2 or 3 car length advantage as they arrived into turn 1. Behind it was all about the battle between the Lusit Racing Ferraris and the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan. Eventually it was Rick Broikers who prevailed, although getting his elbows out just a little bit in order to hustle past Daniel Serra. And that bunched all the field up behind. They were all very scattered through the first couple of turns. Fortunately, not too much in the way of casualties. This then was the coming together that prompted the safety car. Lamborghini Huracan just possibly unsighted, and then slowing down, and Constantini, car kicked sideways, tagged the Olymp Racing Audi, Marcin Jedlinski, but it was Constantini who lost out, and expect that there will be the decision taken to remove that car from its position at the side of the road before we do get back running. There is a very frustrated Thiago Marquez. It's not been the greatest of weekends, really, for Thiago Marquez and Marcio Basso. That car also involved in an incident that brought out the red flag in qualifying yesterday morning. So we're in car with David Perel, just behind Raffaele Giamaria at the wheel of the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. And Perel currently completing the top 10. So the order is Alain Kader from Rick Broikers, then Alessandro Pierguidi, Fran Rueda in 4th, Daniel Serra 5th, Eduardo Liberati 6th, Bradley Ellis 7th, Daniele D'Amato in 8th, Raffaele Giamaria in 9th, and David Perel in 10th. Now the drivers who really lose out from all of this are the ones who are carrying success seconds into the mid-race pit stops, because they are going to lose probably 6 or 7 minutes, and therefore 3 or 4 laps of opportunity to start to stretch the field and try and offset some of the time that they will be spending static in the pit lane. So that may well be detrimental to the chances of the all-pro Luzit Racing Ferraris are getting on to the outright race rostrum. This also plays into the hands a little bit of some of the Pro-Am pairings where the pro driver is going to go in the second half of the race. So the likes of Christian Hook, for example, who will have Daniel Karwitz take over from him. They finished 3rd in the Pro-Am class yesterday. And for Hook, long may this safety car continue, because that will give him a chance to challenge later on. I was going to say it might give Toby Sowry a chance to challenge, but Giuseppe Cipriani has sustained some damage to the front of the Dyco Lazarus Lamborghini Huracan and was slowing, so I rather fear that Giuseppe Cipriani's chances may have come to a premature conclusion, and Toby Sowry, who would have taken over from Giuseppe Cipriani, would have been one of those drivers who would have thrived with a closely bunched field. And it looks as if a little bit of fluid was being deposited as well from the front of the Cipriani car. Yes, you can see it just at the end of the tyre marks. Just that slight sheen on the surface of the circuit. So the next camera angle should tell us it's the HTP Motorsport MS Racing team. Watch on. Alexander Hrakwin has stayed out of the wars. He's currently 23rd. There is the recovery work ongoing for Stefano Constantini. Now, provided that all is okay, we might be able to go green at the end of this next lap. So through come the field. This the first full lap we've really had behind the safety cars. Let's see what lap time has been posted. So it's a 2 minutes 42 for Alam Kader. So even if we now here's another look at the incident that provoked it. Just a little bit of over-exuberance, coupled with not necessarily seeing that that car was coming, and then for Stefano Constantini, the car kicking sideways as everybody dropped off the pace, and bits of car flying in all directions as well. That was the moment where Giuseppe Cipriani lost the front of his Lamborghini Huracan, and into the pits comes Cipriani. And rather sadly, that would appear as if it may not polish out. Toby Sowry inspects. But Giuseppe Cipriani clambering from the cockpit. Now, if we see another look at the Constantini incident, just at the end of it, you catch a glimpse of the moment where Cipriani just tagged the car in front. He apologises to Sowry. Sowry says, just don't worry. It's one of those things. So all the while, the race clock continues to tick down. And the field already halfway through this next safety car lap. No indication as yet as to whether or not this is going to be the last of the safety car laps. Smart money is they'll probably get one more behind the safety car now. Otherwise, the field will be bunching up a little bit more. And if that proves to be the case, then we're going to have about 46 minutes left. Nope, the safety car is coming on this lap, so that's good news. The circuit staff here at the Hungaroring doing a great job. So Alam Kader bunching the field up, waiting for the right moment to pull the pin. And actually the pack had spread out a fair bit behind him. So there are going to be some big gaps that will open up here quite quickly, because Kader has decided the best, he's clearly aware that there are gaps behind him. So he's decided the best way to go about this restart is just get as close to the safety car as possible. As soon as it peels in, he's pulled the pin. And Alam Kader and Rick Broyce has got a huge advantage over Alessandro Pierguidi, who is under real threat from Fran Rueda, and that has backed Rueda up into the clutches of Daniel Serra as they sprint towards turn one. So leading duo well clear, and Rueda's going to lose one, if not more places. Or is he? As Rueda fights back to the inside of Serra. Great stuff from Rueda. Can he hold it tight? Not quite. There's contact behind between Liberati and Bradley Ellis. It's 3 wide. Daniele Diamato decides to join in that scrap as well. Liberati now is still going for it. Fran Rueda has now been fully passed by Daniel Serra as Ellis slots back into position ahead of Daniele Diamato. Pursues Eduardo Liberati. Raffaele Gianmaria and David Perel, all part of this scrap, as are Fernando Reis, Michele Rugolo, Giovanni Venturini and Marcin Jedlinski. And Perel's just left a little bit of a glimmer that closes pretty quickly for Fernando Reis. And now Daniel Serra could be a little bit of a spoiler here and try and give Pierre Guidi a couple of seconds to hand over to Michael Mack with. And so for Fran Rueda, frustration here for Rueda is that Rick Broikers and Riccardo Agostini have also got no success seconds in the pits, and if they can build a buffer over Rueda, then that's going to feed the Imperiale Racing duo out with a good opportunity of challenging for the victory, because already the gap from second back to Pierre Guidi in third is 3.5 seconds. So a well-orchestrated restart from the Luzic Racing team. We're in car with Fernando Reis. So he gets to inspect the rear spoiler of the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari of David Perel. Pair of them shooting Bradley Ellis is now Rueda right behind Daniel Serra. And Serra covers the inside line. Rueda looks to the outside. That's great defensive driving from Daniel Serra. Is Rueda, though, going to be able to punch his way through as they sprint downhill towards turn 2? Again, Serra having to cover the inside line, and then just breaks deep, eases Rueda to the outside. It's behind. Liberati and Ellis are still going for it. Also, Miguel Ramos, Caco Bueno, and Lorenzo Berard-Vieira all trying to latch into this scrap as well. And this is what you can do at the Hungaroring. If you know where to position the car and focus on which corners that you need to get the good clean exit from, you can back up a train behind you without being under particular threat. Thierry Boutsen, of course, doing it to great effect to win the Hungarian Grand Prix back in 1990. As the pack shuffle over the curbs at the chicane. It really is this train from 4th position back to 17th. They're all pretty much running as one. Car with Fernando Reis gives you a sense of just how busy it is. All these drivers looking for any which way to try and get a glimmer of an advantage over the car in front. But because these GT3 cars have got ABS brakes, the braking distances are remarkably short. The straight's just not quite long enough to take advantage of the slipstream. So this field, as we approach 1/4 race distance, winds uphill. We go back in car with Caco Bueno. Gets intimately close to Taylor Miguel Ramos's car. Maybe just gave him a little bit of a love tap midway through the hairpin. As now Diamato under threat from Raffaele Gianmaria, and Gianmaria looks to the outside of Daniele Diamato, who won't like that. The RS Racing Ferrari squeezes elbows the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini. A little bit of trim comes off one of the two cars. We'll find out who, I'm sure, in due course. Gives David Perel the opportunity to join in as Giovanni Venturini busy trying to overhaul Michele Rugolo. Rugolo not an easy drive to overtake at the best of times. And again, this scrap continues from turn 3 in towards turn 4. They all ride the curbs. As Jedlinski to the inside of Bueno. So Marcin Jedlinski in the Olit Racing Audi gains the position, moves up into 15th place, and now takes his turn to try and take the fight to Miguel Ramos. There's bits of trim bouncing all over the place from some of this intense early running. The pit window opening in just 7 minutes' time as well. That's where we'll start to see some of the strategy coming into play. Now, here's another look at the moment between Daniele Diamato and Raffaele Gianmaria. And Diamato says, sorry, that's my piece of racetrack. Gianmaria begged to differ, and they just tapped into each other. Meanwhile, Daniel Serra still just bunching this pack up behind. They're now 6.8 seconds adrift of the race leader, Alam Kader, as out of the hairpin we go. And again, Raffaele Gianmaria looking for a good run on the RS Racing Ferrari. And he might just have got it on Daniele Diamato. Diamato covers the middle of the road. And around the outside comes Gianmaria. Now, will it work this time? Gianmaria looking for the switch back instead. And he may have just been able to punch his way past Diamato, the Ferrari driver, a little bit later onto the throttle. Bobs and weaves behind the Lamborghini. But Daniele Diamato has, for now, conceded 8th place to Raffaele Gianmaria. This group of cars swing downhill. Diamato runs a little bit wide. That's going to play him now into the clutches of the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari of David Perel. We've got a red and yellow waved flag for a slippery surface through sector 1. Just possible reports of fluid. We saw a little bit coming from the car of Giuseppe Cipriani as all sorts of angles of attack over the chicane through. And David Perel was about to make the move on Diamato. Here's a replay then of the Gianmaria manoeuvre. Diamato looked to have covered it off, and Gianmaria just on the switchback, able to propel past. Here's how it looked for David Perel. And then in the background, all coming together between Perel and Diamato. We saw the move being lined up, and that is how it has resolved itself. Oh, David Perel does not want to be facing the wrong way, the blind corner, for too long. Synchronised spinning as such to get back for the brace of Ferraris, right in the path of Franti Pibakis here, and, well, Perel was committed to a gap. He was halfway alongside when the door shut on him. Both cars rotating as a result. Daniele Diamato, that's 2 spins through contact in 2 races this weekend. Not apportioning blame in either of those at the moment, but fortunately both those spins have cost Diamato. Meanwhile, the flash of headlights from Bradley Ellis as he pursues Edoardo Liberati. This is the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th, because Raffaele Gianmaria has joined it. Then there's the gap in the traffic where Diamato and Perel used to be, with the race leader Alam Kader 1.9 seconds clear of Rick Broikers. Broikers then 4 seconds up the road ahead of Alessandro Pierguidi, who's got 1.5 seconds over Daniel Serra. Still has Fran Rueda poised on his tail. And then Edoardo Liberati, Bradley Ellis and Raffaele Gianmaria just behind. Lorenzo Barral de Viega. His disappointing weekend continues into the pits and frustrated. It's been one of those seasons so far for Lorenzo Barral de Viega. He and Juan Cruz Alvarez just haven't yet scored that breakthrough result we know they're capable of. So the race leader Kader completes 10 laps. Broikers pursues him. Then Pierguidi in 3rd, 4th Daniel Serra, 5th Fran Rueda, 6th Edoardo Liberati, 7th Bradley Ellis, 8th Raffaele Gianmaria, 9th Fernando Reis, and 10th is Michele Rugolo. Just over 1/3 race distance. This is the 8th race of the International GTOpen season. And once more, the Hungaroring producing some spectacular racing. Plenty of battling for position. It's the Lamborghini sandwich the Audi of Bradley Ellis. Ellis thunders out of turn 4, and this is great stuff from Raffaele Gianmaria. He's really in the mood this weekend, looking very, very feisty at the wheel of the 19 car. Trying to force Ellis into a couple of mistakes, just opening the opportunity for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan to fight its way past. Alessandro Pierguidi is under investigation for the safety car restart. our timing screen tells us. So that could add another dimension to the race. On the brakes into turn 11, Gianmaria, the green Lamborghini, closes up onto the silver Audi of Bradley Ellis. And as they battle, it's just allowing the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini of Edoardo Liberati to break free. So there you see confirmation of that investigation. It's the fight for third pounds along the start and finish straight, and they will be able to come in and start making pit stops at the end of this lap as Gianmaria goes for the move to the inside of Ellis. And Gianmaria, can he get the car stopped in time? He's done as good a job of that as you could have expected, and Raffaele Gianmaria runs alongside Bradley Ellis as they head towards turn 2, and Gianmaria is going to seal the deal, or is he? He slithers a little bit, so does Ellis. That was great manoeuvre from Gianmaria, desperately late on the brakes, but doing just enough to block out the Audi. But now Ellis is coming back at him as they fight. Fernando Reis in the background as well, looking to try and join in the fight. A hop over the curbs, then on the brakes, down through the gears. Accelerating towards the chicane. And Raffaele Gianmaria up to 7th. Edoardo Liberati is next target. In the mood that he's in, you would suggest that that could be eminently doable. Here's the race lead though, Alain Cadet, who has led every single metre of the race thus far. And with the pit window opening, we'd expect to see Cadet staying out fairly deep, because that will then give Marcello Hahn the opportunity to come out in the lead of the Pro-Am class and possibly in contention for an outright race podium as well. So now Bradley Ellis has got Fernando Reis snapping at his heels. This is the fight for 8th and 9th, with then Giovanni Venturini in 10th, having finally dispatched Michele Rugolo. And the gap behind Rugolo to Miguel Ramos and Kaka Bueno, with then Marcin Jedlinski in the Olymp Racing Audi, one of the first drivers to make the pit stop. The driver change coming on now. So we'll see if anybody else elects to duck in this stage. It's Mateusz Zalski who takes over in the Olymp Audi. Meanwhile, Daniel Serra just closing up onto the tail of Alessandro Pierguidi. Olymp team get to work. Set of scrub tyres going on for Mateusz Zalski to guide through to the end of the race. Also in is Luis Silva-Tandov to Antonio Coimbra. Martin Conrad will take over from Alexandra Raquina in the pink Mercedes, and also Daniel Karwitz already in for Christian Hook in the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari. Sporting U Mercedes team get to work as Luis Silva and Antonio Coimbra switch places. Perennial title hunters in the AM class. Sporting U Mercedes pairing always right up there. It's the Luzic Racing Ferrari's flying formation, 3rd and 4th position. The deficit to the race leading duo, some 6 seconds. Are we going to see an early pit stop from either of them? All indications suggest not. Headlights ablaze. The Drivex Mercedes of Alain Cadet leads the way. Rick Breukers 2 seconds back. Then we have this wait for Pierre Guidi and Daniel Serra. And Fran Rader has come into the pits to pass over to Andres Saravia. So the Teo Marti Motorsport team hoping maybe to get an undercut on the race of Luzic Ferraris, and also Rick Breukers, Riccardo Agostini. Kang Ling will take over from Edoardo Liberati, and Fernando Reis to pass over to Damiano Fioravanti. So all change. There's Fioravanti into the Umbra Racing Lamborghini. Andrea Bertolini's taken over as well from Daniele Diamato, and Tom Onslow-Cole into the SPS Mercedes for Valentin Pierberg. And there's that change, yesterday's runners-up. And what can Onslow-Cole do with just over half an hour to play with? Cristani and Ramos, they've got an additional 20 seconds in the pits, the Pro-Am Championship leaders. Yamato thumps the door shut for Andrea Bertolini. Stalks off into the RS Racing pit box. Lusit Racing Ferraris, they look absolutely great. And flying in tandem at the front of the field. That's what the team will be wanting to see. But of course, both cars, they've got a fair amount of additional time in the pits with all the success seconds from preceding successes. And the way that the field has spread, as into the pit lane now goes Pierre Guidi to pass over to Michael Mack. Also got a good number of cars under investigation for overtaking under the safety car, so it's quite a lot that's going to need some sorting out as the championship leader Michael Mack about to take over from Alessandro Pierguidi. The door opens. The team are very well drilled in this. The car goes up onto the air jacks. Mack gets in, tyres go on. It's Fabrizio Crostani already unleashed on his way and actually out of the pitch right in front of Rick Breukers. Meanwhile, Jerome Mull to take over from Giovanni Venturini. So this could be a frustration here for Rick Breukers, depending on his pace relative to that of Fabrizio Crostani. Is that maybe going to prompt the change to Riccardo Agostini? Pit window shuts when there are 24 minutes left on the clock. Now there are the cars under investigation. That's Tom Onslow Cole, it is Fabrizio Crostani, and it is the retired car of Giuseppe Cipriani and Toby Sowry. So potentially quite a lot of bearing on some of the Pro-Am Championship contenders. Meanwhile, Daniel Karlwitz trying to close up onto the tail of Rick Breukers. Karlwitz, who finished third in the Pro-Am class yesterday. And indeed, the Imperiale Racing team deciding now is a good moment to put Agostini at the wheel of the number 25 car. So Rick Breukers has done a fine job today, qualifying up in second position, running in second for the course of the race. And with no success seconds, this could work out very favourably for the Imperiale Racing pairing. Again, the well-drilled team get to work. And in the background as well, you saw Daniel Serra just peeling in to hand over to Marco Ciocci. So all go in the pit lane. And as soon as we cut to it, that pit stop already almost completed in terms of the driver change. And the team's practicing driver changes all the way through the weekend. It's peeling downhill. Tom Onslow Cole, who has got, I would presume, Raffaele Giammaria just behind him. Indeed, he does. So Giammaria, with all this, promoted up into second position. Here is the race leader, Alain Kader. Now, the pit window closes when there are 24 minutes left on the clock. And for Kader and Marcello Hahn, there is a good possibility, certainly of a Pro-Am class win today, but possibly even more than that in terms of an outright race podium, if not victory. So the DriveX team will be monitoring the situation carefully, working out where in terms of traffic Marcello Hahn is going to feed back in. It's in the background, Fabrizio Crostani trying to close up onto the tail of Kader. Mercedes accelerating out of the final turn through to complete the 16th lap of the race. And the lead over Raffaele Giammaria, something like 15 seconds for Alain Kader. So of those that have pitted, it is Jerome Mull, who is, no, it's Riccardo Agostini who is the foremost from Kangling, then Damiano Fioravanti. Andres Saravia has emerged actually behind Jerome Mull, so I don't know if something went wrong for the Teo Marti Motorsport team in the pits, but Saravia seems to have lost a fair chunk of time as Ricardo Battista takes over from Caco Bueno. Again, very smooth and well-drilled pit stop. Cadet taking a slightly optimistic line there for the chicane. Just has to be careful he doesn't pick up any sort of time penalty for a track limit violation. That's really the first error of any substance we've seen him make all day. He's accelerating towards turn 11. Cadet, if he wants to, he's probably got just about enough time for one more lap, the race leader, before he has to come in and make his pit stop. And that's exactly what he's going to do. So through the final turn, accelerating on his way as Marco Ciocci going side by side, and he's going to sneak through there past Mateusz Zalski. So that's going to give Ciocci 12th position. It's going to be about 7th or 8th by the time all those pit stops have shuffled through. So, of those that have bidded, it's Riccardo Agostini who leads the way from Kang Ling and Damiano Fioravanti, with Jerome Muller and Andres Saravia all part of that group. And we've got a 5-car train, all separated by no more than 1.5 seconds between all of them, as Michele Rugolo hands over to Alex West in the Pro-Am class. So Cadet will be in at the end of this lap, and then it's going to be a case of where he feeds out into the where Marcello Hahn feeds out into the Riccardo Agostini train of cars, which we've not seen yet, but is all running reasonably closely together. Also expecting in at the end of this lap Raffaele Giammaria, Bradley Ellis and David Perel. Headlights ablaze for Alain Cadet. Rumbles out of turn 10, Fabrizio Crestani right in his wheel tracks. "26 minutes left in the race. And this is going to be one of the key points in terms of where Marcello Hahn feeds back into the action. So into the pits comes the long-time race leader Alain Cadet. That safety car hiatus means that he wasn't able to stretch the field as much as he would have liked. But nonetheless, it is going to potentially work out pretty nicely here for Marcello Hahn. The DriveX team all ready for him. So out of the cockpit just about for Cadet. In hops Hahn. Also needs Raffaele Giammaria to pass over to Jiatong Liang. Ellis in for Wilkinson too, and Perel will be in for Renat Salikov. So again, a rapid but unhurried pit stop for the Imperiale Racing team. So here is this train of cars effectively fighting for the victory. 5 of them, up to and including Andres Saravia, but headed by Riccardo Agostini, with Kang Ling, Damiano Fioravanti, Jerome Mull, and then Andres Saravia. So they're not quite locked into wheel-to-wheel battle just yet. But where are these other cars going to feed out into all of this? Pit stop complete for Wilkinson, he just waits. Renat Salikov takes over the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari from David Perel. And here comes Marcello Hahn, and Hahn has got the length of the pit straight worth of a lead over Riccardo Agostini, and this is a golden opportunity for Alain Cadet and Marcello Hahn to claim pretty much a lights-to-flag victory here at the Hungaroring. It'll be the end of Sector 1 where we'll get a sense of the true gap that Marcello Hahn has got, but it is a pretty handy one. What it also means is that Hahn doesn't have to rush getting himself up to speed. He can afford to let a second or two go by here as he just locks into a rhythm. So Hahn picks up the throttle. Now here comes the group behind, and Damiano Fioravanti has lost out. Well, it's Jiatong Liang, in fact, who's come out right in front of Fioravanti. So all 3 of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans are right in the mix. The advantage that Hahn has got over Riccardo Agostini is 11.5 seconds. So Hahn leads, Agostini second, Kang Ling is third, Jiatong Liang fourth, fifth Damiano Fioravanti, sixth Jerome Mull, seventh Andres Saravia, eighth Oliver Wilkinson, 9th Alex West, and those top 9 are covered by just 20 seconds, but really 2nd through to 9th covered by just 10 seconds. There Mateusz Zalski is 7.5 seconds back, completing the top 10 as Fioravanti looks every which way to try and overhaul Liang, and Liang just parks the car in the middle of the road, but he then slithers wide at turn 11. That might give Fioravanti the chance to draw alongside, and Jerome Mull lurking with intent as well. Meanwhile, Mikel Matt, championship leader, has got a drive-through penalty for that safety car restart when Alessandro Pierguidi was behind the wheel. And now Jerome Mull got the chance to challenge Fioravanti as they head along the start and finish straight. Not quite, and the challenge being here that these Lamborghini Huracans are all very, very similar. Maybe some nuances in setup preference between them. An absolutely thrilling final third of the race in prospect then, because Marcello Hahn has got a 10.5 second buffer over Riccardo Agostini. Agostini has got 1.5 seconds over Kang Ling, and then Ling has got 3.2 seconds over Jiatong Liang, and then you can see really what the gaps are thereafter. Fioravanti can sniff a podium if he can clear Liang, but Liang can sense a Pro-Am class podium and maybe an outright race podium if he stays where he is. Just kicks the Lamborghini a little bit sideways, the Chinese driver. Fioravanti right onto his tail. It's through this section, turns 8, 9 and 10, where you just can't do anything but follow the car in front. And as they fight, it's going to bring Andres Saravia into the mix as well. Out of the faster right at turn 10. Slight straight towards turn 11. Fioravanti thinks about a little look to the inside of Liang. He's not quite close enough. Jerome Mull, of course, lurking with intent just behind. So Marcello Hahn, his first line lap was a 1:45.4. Riccardo Agostini with a 1:45.5. So Marcello Hahn is able to, in fact, extend his advantage over Riccardo Agostini at the moment. So here comes the challenge from Fioravanti, looks the inside Liang. Liang sees him, shuts the door or attempts to. Both of them get pushed wide. Now where is Jerome Mull? There is Mull, who gets past his teammate and looks to do the same to Fioravanti as the three of them tumble towards turn 2. They all file in behind each other. Andres Saravia now part of this scrap as well. With the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW of Andres Saravia flashing his headlights, trying to pick his way past Liang in the background. In terms of the other classes, well, Marcello Hahn leads the Pro-Am class from Jiatong Liang, with then West third in the Pro-Am class, but Ollie Wilkinson closing onto his tail. Another look at that move from Damiano Fioravanti. Judged that pretty much perfectly. And the AM class headed by Giulio Borlenghi at the moment, for Antonio Coimbra and Martin Conrad. That was to the delight of the Ombra Racing team. Now, what can Fioravanti and Mull do about Kang Ling, who has suddenly leapt to 5.2 seconds up the road, having been released? Now, Ling, according to our timing screen, is all over the tail of Riccardo Agostini as well. Which might explain why Agostini's pace has suddenly dropped off a little bit. Now, the last lap from Marcello Hahn was a 1:46.1, 1:46.0 from Agostini, as Fioravanti comes through with a 1:45.2, and therefore is cleaving into that battle that's ongoing for second and third. Here is Andres Saravia, second in the championship, but just 7th on the road, so he really needs to try and gain a little bit of ground as well. This is thrilling stuff. Here's the fight for second position then, and Agostini has got a charging Kang Ling behind him, and Ling and Liberati, we said at the start of the race that they've been having a good weekend, and now it really is coming to fruition. And the challenge here for Agostini and Ling is if they slow each other down fighting with each other, that is going to allow Marcello Hahn a fairly decisive advantage. Meanwhile, Marco Ciocci and Andrea Bertolini both trying to sandwich Riccardo Baptista. The difficulty for Ling here is going to be where can he find a way past the very similar Imperial Racing Lamborghini Huracan. Their deficit to the race leader Marcello Hahn, 10 seconds exactly. Because the amount of time left in the race, laps in the low 1 minute 45 second bracket would be enough to fairly rapidly whittle away Marcello Hahn's advantage. So they can't afford to slow each other down too much as Hahn comes past us, does a 1 minute 45.3. Now, what is the pace of this fight for second and third? Agostini and Ling, 1 minute 45.5. So it's a 46.3 rather for Hahn, a 45.5 for Agostini, 9.7 seconds, the advantage of the race leader. Kang Ling right behind Agostini in third. Damiano Fioravanti, 1 minute 44.9. So Fioravanti is carving into this battle just ahead of him as well. So the whole front of the field closing up on each other as Mikel Mack serves that drive through penalty. It was Alessandro Pierguidi who incurred it. It's Mack who has to serve it. So absolutely fantastic racing and fantastic prospects as well for the way that this race is going to come together in the latter stages. And just wonder there if the DriveX team was saying to Alain Cadet, don't pass on any information to Marcello Hahn about the gaps. Meanwhile, can report there are drive-through penalties for both Fabrizio Crestani and Tom Onslow Cole for overtaking behind the safety car. And this lap, Ling not much closer to Agostini. Both of them, though, are getting a little bit closer to Marcello Hahn. So car 27 is Fabrizio Crestani, car 28 is Giuseppe Cipriani, he's already in the pits, and car 20 is Tom Onslow Cole. Here is the race leader, Marcello Hahn. That last lap, a 1 minute 46.660 for Hahn. Agostini, a 1 minute 45.5, 8.6 seconds now is Hahn's advantage. It's going to be really touch and go whether or not they can reel in the DriveX Mercedes between now and the checkered flag. If Marcello Hahn could consistently find another 2 or 3 tenths of a second, I think that would be enough for him. Meanwhile, Andres Saravia trying to overhaul Jiatong Liang in the fight for 6th and 7th. Liang, second in the Pro-Am class to Marcello Hahn, and third in the Pro-Am class remains Alex West from Mateusz Lizowski. I think Ollie Wilkinson, who was right with West, has possibly had a bit of a moment somewhere because he's lost a fair chunk of time. So where's the opportunity now for Saravia? Still a quarter of the race to run. Onslow Cole serves the drive-through penalty. Rejoins. Liang's can scarcely look in his mirrors, can he? Because all he's going to see is the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. And Andres Saravia really tight up behind the Lamborghini. The challenge, of course, is where he's actually going to be able to make the move. But is he near enough for a little bit of a look here into turn 11? Well, he had a look, but no more than that. And now he's just got to gather himself as they climb uphill. In the background, there is Alex West, third in the Pro-Am class, and actually catching this pair as well. Right, about 7 tenths of a second a lap. But this is the real trick of the Hungaroring, is even if you're a second or so slower than the car behind you, you can find a way to fend them off. Front of the field as they completed the 24th lap of the race. Marcello Hahn was again 1.3 seconds slower than Riccardo Agostini. So the gap from first to second is now 7.2 seconds. And they've got time for 7 or so more laps in this race. Meanwhile, Fabrizio Cristani wheel to wheel with Riccardo Baptista. Cristani yet to serve his drive-through penalty. They've got Daniel Karwitz as well, just behind them. They're all closing up on Andrea Bertolini and Renat Salakov. When there was no gap there for Karwitz, there wasn't. A little bit of trim has come off one of the cars, just a slight glancing brush. Riccardo Baptista in the other of the DriveX Mercedes. Meanwhile, Michael Mack out of the race, I guess, with no possibility of points. The decision not to risk the car is the one that's been taken, unless there was some sort of mechanical issue that has also come up, as now Saravia gets a good run alongside Jiatong Liang as they came through turns 11 into turn 12. Alex West is right with them as well, so it's going to be for second in the Pro-Am class. They're about to be joined before too long as well by the Olymp Racing Audi Mateusz Zalski, who's catching this group at a rate of some 2 seconds a lap. So still a lot of time left in this race. It's down the start and finish straight. Saravia quite close enough to challenge Liang. No, he's not. He'll hope instead the Chinese driver just outbrakes himself. That doesn't happen. The Luzit Racing Ferrari of Alex West coming to join in the background there. You see the very brightly liveried Audi. Liang doing everything right at the moment in keeping Saravia behind him, just driving a very wide car and making sure there's not a BMW-sized hole towards the inside at any corner. Through turn 4, nothing that Saravia can do. Into 5, and again, Liang just slithering a little bit wide, but not enough for Saravia to take advantage of. At the front of the field, meanwhile, the sister Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan of Riccardo Agostini is now just 6 seconds adrift of Marcello Hahn. Oh, and a move there for Saravia to the inside, and he's going to push Liang out wide. And Jiatong Liang is going to lose seconds. Is he in the Pro-Am class as a result? He does. So the pressure finally pays. In the blink of an eye, Liang pushed from 6th to 8th as Saravia makes his way through. And the hole he punched enough to give Alex West the move and second place in the Pro-Am classification. Marcello Hahn still leading the Pro-Am class and the race overall. The AM class headed by Giulio Borlenghi, although he's got Antonio Coimbra right behind him. Another look at the move. Saravia saw a gap and decided, that's enough, I'm going to go for it. Liang saw him coming. They gave each other racing room, all very clean. Emilio de Vallota, Marti Motorsport pit wall, celebrates. So here's the race leader, Marcello Hahn, who at the end of the 26th lap of the race was pretty much exactly 5 seconds ahead of Riccardo Agostini. Agostini's brought Kang Lin with him for company. There you see that rate of capture. 9 minutes left in the race, and probably time for 6 more laps, depending at what point Hahn crosses the line. Here then is the second place battle, which has just calmed down. Ling, I'd imagine, just prepared to work with Agostini for the moment. Reel in Marcello Hahn. It's a fight for victory is far better than a fight for second place. But what we saw yesterday with Valentin Pierberg when he was leading the SPS Automotive Mercedes is that if Marcello Hahn just focuses on some key corner exits, there's not a lot that Agostini is going to be able to do, even at this rate of capture. Because by the time that Agostini's got to turns to Marcello Hahn, he's going to have at most 3 laps to try and make his move. And as they get backed up, Ling and possibly Fioravanti are going to be on him in a shot. So out of the hairpin, over the line, the gap comes down to 4 seconds exactly. So that was a second's worth of capture from Agostini on Hahn. So Marcello Hahn at 1 minute 46.7, Riccardo Agostini at 1 minute 45.7. Kang Ling at 1 minute 45.8. And in fourth place, Damiano Fioravanti at 1 minute 45.3. So Fioravanti is only 8 seconds off the lead. There he is at the very back of your picture. And he is closing in onto this group as well, as is Jerome Mull, who is matching Fioravanti stride for stride in terms of lap times. Could be in for an absolute grandstand finish here. As Kang Ling hops over the curbs. He and Eduardo Liberati, 7.5 minutes away from their first GT Open podium. Marcello Hahn and Alam Cadet, the same time away from their first victory. 3.5 seconds is Hahn's advantage at the end of the first sector. He gave away half a second to Riccardo Agostini just through sector 1. Hahn, he daren't look in his mirrors. He'll start to see that green Lamborghini getting ever closer. What was the length of the start and finish straight is now 2/3 of the length of the straight from turns 10 to 11. It's 3.7 seconds at the end of sector 2. They climb up through sector 3. Agostini hunting down for the race victory, just shy of 7 minutes on the clock when Marcello Hahn crosses the line, which he does now. A 1 minute 46.1 from Marcello Hahn. He's elevated the pace, and it plays a 1 minute 45.7 for Riccardo Agostini. So Agostini 3.5 seconds back from Marcello Hahn. And now it's Agostini who has to find a little something. And has Agostini got through the best of his tyres? Damiano Fioravanti and Jerome Mull continuing to pursue the leading trio. Mull in 5th position after yesterday's disappointment. He and Venturini will be coming away from this afternoon at least with a decent collection of points. Now, 2-second time penalty for cars 33. It's Daniel Karlwitz, and 27 Fabrizio Cristani for handicap infringements. So it's not been one of the greatest races of Fabrizio Cristani's career. Still got the drive-through penalty to serve as far as I understand it. The gap now down to 3.1 seconds at the end of sector 2 between Hahn and Agostini. It's 3.094 to be precise. It's a rate of capture that is now swinging back into the hands of Marcello Hahn, who is having to work very, very hard for this. Meanwhile, this is the fight going on for the final spot on the Pro-Am class podium, and Jiatong Liang doing everything he can to keep Mateusz Lazowski behind him. The Olymp Racing Audi, though, snapping at the heels of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan. And this is the opportunity as Lazowski draws alongside Liang as they go up the hill towards the final turn. Liang, though, keeps it tight, focuses on the corner exit. Oh, almost trying to sneak through was the Audi. He couldn't quite do it. This pair of them power along the start and finish straight. It's allowing Alex West to just escape a little bit, second in the Pro-Am class. 4 minutes and 20 seconds left in the race. Agostini was 8/10 quicker than Hahn last time round. The gap between the pair of them is down to 2.2 seconds. It's an awful lot less than that in the fight for second in the Pro-Am class, or third in the Pro-Am class rather, and 8th in the race overall. Cars motoring through the Hungarian heat. And you really don't know where to look in these closing stages of the race. They will be through to start the penultimate lap of the race at the end of this one. So a 1 second time penalty as well for Jerome Mull. And that is, I think, going to cost him I don't think it will cost him actually, to Andras Saravia, and a 4 second penalty as well to Rinat Salikov, and that will cost him Places to Marco Ciocci and Andrea Bertolini. As again, Liang busy defending from Zalski, and again, Zalski not finding a way past him. Han and Agostini have just come past us, 1.9 seconds between the race leaders. Third place man Kang Ling a further 2.6 seconds back, but this is the hunt that's on. They're into the penultimate lap of the race. And Agostini, again, last time around, he was 8/10ths quicker than Marcello Hahn. The problem being that 2 laps closing in at 8/10ths is going to give Hahn victory by 3/10ths of a second. And of course, Marcello Hahn knows that those numbers are in his favour. He just needs to keep doing what he's been doing so well for the past 20 minutes. And he and Alam Kader are going to score a quite sensational victory here at the Hungaroring. Oh, but Hahn straight lines the chicane, just makes the slight error. And let's just hope he doesn't start second-guessing himself. If he just keeps locking into his rhythm, he will probably have enough to claim victory here. As it is, Riccardo Agostini is going to get one chance, and one chance only, if that, to take the fight to Marcello Hahn, who comes towards the end of the second sector of the lap. And the gap has opened up to over 2 seconds. Agostini conceding some ground, and I guess this would be why, because Hahn realised he wasn't going to make the chicane and straight lined it. Could argue that he didn't exactly lift off the throttle at that point either. And so the team, no, they'll be hoping that there is no penalty forthcoming. In the meantime, though, Marcello Hahn accelerating through and starting the final lap of the race. His deficit to Riccardo Agostini is, or his advantage rather, is 1.7 seconds. Agostini's going to have to come from a remarkably long way back here to overhaul Marcello Hahn. And Agostini only took just shy of 0.2 of a second out of Hahn last time around. Kang Ling looks secure in that third position. The charger Damiano Fioravanti has been somewhat halted as the DriveX Mercedes of Marcello Hahn, headlights ablaze through the sunshine, over the curbs at turn 4. Riccardo Agostini in pursuit. He's within 1.5 seconds of the DriveX Mercedes. The next banana skin here for Hahn is the chicane. He straight lined it last time. He's really got to negotiate it without drama this time round. He does just that. So does Agostini, but he's not near enough to Hahn. Ling likewise has got enough over Fioravanti. Hahn picks his way through this twisty middle sector of the lap. Runs a little bit wide out of turn 10. It doesn't matter at this stage. The gap goes out again a little bit from Hahn to Agostini. And Marcello Hahn is just 2 corners from home now. The DriveX team, now they back themselves to run to the pit wall. Alam Kader doesn't quite. He just wants to see Marcello Hahn come out of the final turn. Hahn power slides out at turn 12 into turn 13. Agostini is closing onto his tail as they head through the final corner. However, it's going to be victory at the Hungaroring for Marcello Hahn, and Alam Kader lights to flag win for the DriveX Mercedes team, who are jubilant on the pit wall, with Agostini and Rick Breukers in second, Kang Ling and Eduardo Liberati completing the podium. The DriveX team are bouncing. Alam Kader grinning from ear to ear as Andres Saravia crosses the line in 6th position. And then in the background, Alex West and Michele Rugolo, they will take 2nd in the Pro-Am class, with 3rd in the Pro-Am class going to Jiatong Liang and Raffaele Giammaria, with Liang holding off Jordan Paudi late on. The rest of the field pounding through over the line. Utter delight for the DriveX team. Congratulations are being proffered all the way along the pit lane. And that was a superb performance from Marcello Hahn, because it would have been so easy for him to have started to drive with his mirrors late on. He didn't. So victory for Marcello Hahn and Alan Kader in the DriveX Mercedes. Second place, Riccardo Agostini and Rick Breukers in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan, with Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling completing the podium. Solid points for Rees and Fioravanti in fourth, and the same for Venturini and Mull in fifth. Fran Rader and Andres Ravia taking some points out of Michael Mack with sixth. Alex West and Michele Rugolo Pro-Am runners-up from Jiatong Liang and Raffaele Giamaria, with the Olymp Racing Audi in ninth and the Otto Motorsport Audi completing the top 10. Race 1 winners, Marco Ciocci and David Serra home in 11th, ahead of Diamato and Bertolini. Cristani and Ramos having a race of adventures, the same for David Perel and Renat Salikov. Victory going to Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, Andre Lewandowski and Giulio Borlenghi to cap what's been a great day for them. They took that from Coimbra and Silva, with then unfortunately a few retirements along the way, including championship leader Michael Mack. Lorenzo Berardo Viega also out of the race in the pits. Giuseppe Cipriani with damage. Stefano Constantini, that instant behind the safety car. So in terms of the championship then, Michael Mack with 6 races to go leads the way. 10 points his advantage over Saravia and Rueda. Giovanni Venturini and Jerome Mull, they're on 48 points, 24 adrift of the championship leader. Diamato slipping to 5th in the standings. Hahn and Kader absolutely delighted with their afternoon's work, and rightly so, celebrating in Parc Ferme. Riccardo Agostini did all he could to try and close the gap down, but he and Rick Breukers have had an excellent weekend. If they can carry that momentum through after the summer break, they could well be in the mix for the championship late on in the season. Kang Ling and Eduardo Liberati, they've been on it all weekend, and third place, a rich reward for their efforts. A moment of triumph for the DriveX team, Marcello Hahn and Adam Kader, that they will remember for a long time, winning in the event 1.79 seconds clear of the rest of them, and look at how much it meant to them on the pit wall, bouncing about in jubilation. The Imperiale Racing team, not quite the victory. The trip to the podium nonetheless. Celebrations likely to continue quite a way through the afternoon for the DriveX team, and the same for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. They've had an excellent weekend, an excellent day. Victory in the AM class, third in the race overall as well. So lots of happy drivers posing for the cameras in Parc Ferme. High fives all around then for the Imperiale Racing team. We will hear in a moment from our race winners. Thumbs up from Raffaele Giamaria, superb drive from him.
Alam, Khodair, Marcelo, and what a great win here at Hungaroring. Alam, you made pole this morning, and I think you felt it was going to be a good day.
Yes, perfect day. It's been a dream for me, for us. We've been driving together since 2008, and I think our best victory, the biggest one, it was amazing. So happy in our career. Sometimes, most of the times we lose, but when we win like this, it's worth it.
And Marcelo, it was a fantastic second stint, holding and keeping the advantage. Everything went well.
Yes, this was all the help of Alan and the team to make a good setup and teach me, as I am a gentleman driver, how to do in the best track. and I couldn't made it, and was a wonderful result, and we are very happy. And for us, it's an unforgettable victory.
Fantastic, unbelievable.
Well done, parabéns. And
Grazie mille.
So look back then, as from pole position it was Alain Cadet who led the way down towards the first corner. He got a superb start as behind there was plenty of jostling for position as Rick Breukers was trying to squeeze past the Luzit Racing Ferraris. Behind it was a little bit messy, but fortunately no contact, although Daniel Serra tagged Breukers as they surged downhill. That then bunched up the field behind before we got the safety car coming out after the coming together between the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini and the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. Unfortunately, Stefano Constantini was caught out by the cars slowing, tagged the Olymp Racing Audi and then clattered into the arm coat. That prolonged the safety car. We did get going. Daniele Diamato and David Perel tangling with each other as they came through turn 8, and both Ferraris feeling some way down the order and out of contention. Bradley Ellis was in the thick of the action as well, having a great battle with a spirited performance from Raffaele Gianmaria. Meanwhile, post-pit stops, Jiatong Liang was right up there, and Damiano Fiorvanti had to pick his way past. As Ricardo Baptista was also in the thick of the action. Jiatong Liang was fighting a superb defensive rearguard action, but that move from Andres Ravia cost Liang the place. But it was victory for Marcello Hahn and Alain Cadet, to the delight of the DriveX team. Second to Riccardo Agostini and Rick Breukers, with Kang Ling and Edoardo Liberati completing the podium. It's a dramatic end to the race. Very, very tense stuff, but delight for the DriveX team. So third step of the podium to Edoardo Liberati and Kang Ling. Runners up, Rick Breukers and Riccardo Agostini. And race winners, Marcello Hahn and Alain Cadet. A moment to savour on the top step of the podium for both drivers and indeed for the DriveX team. Applause from the foot of the podium. Smiles all around from the DriveX squad, but third placed Vincenzo Suspiria Racing's Edoardo Liberati and Kang Ling, a very hard-fought scrap, and they celebrate on the third step of the rostrum. Runners-up, Rick Breukers and Riccardo Agostini. Not quite the victory, but a very solid weekend for them. And they will be looking to take that form forward to Silverstone when the International GTOpen season continues on the 1st and 2nd of September, which gives 2 months for Marcello Hahn and Alain Cadet to enjoy the moment, celebrating on the top step of the Hungaroring podium, having claimed victory, DriveX Mercedes. So a thrilling weekend of racing here at the Hungaroring. We will be back in early September from Silverstone. Until then, it's goodbye. So on to the Pro-Am podium. And for the first time this season, it's a Pro-Am pairing that have won the race overall. But third in the Pro-Am class, Jiatong Liang and Raffaele Gianmaria in the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracan. An inspired drive from Gianmaria and some formidable defence from Liang. Runners up in the class, Michele Rugolo and Alex West in the Luzit Racing Ferrari. And Pro-Am class winners, of course, Alam Cadet and Marcello Hahn. So they once more take their place on the top step of the rostrum, and this a race that had interesting impact on the Pro-Am Championship standings as well, with championship leaders Cristani and Ramos unlike to score points, nor Onslow, Cole and Pierberg. So that, coupled with a top score for Marcello Hahn, Alan Cadet, is certainly going to help Marcello Hahn's Pro-Am Championship challenge. Yesterday, the Luzit Racing team winning the race overall. Today, they're on the Pro-Am podium. More silverware for a delighted DriveX team. And more bubbly to spray for Hahn and Cadet. Once the photograph's been posed for, of course. Time to celebrate, and 6 delighted drivers. Drenching the mechanics at the foot of the rostrum as well. Yeah, the podium a little bit too high, I think, to risk chucking the bottle down. As third and final podium, of course, the AM class podium, with third going to the HTP Motorsport MS Racing Mercedes of Martin Conrad and Alexander Fraquina. Runners up, Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva. Sporting new Mercedes, and Giulio Borlenghi, Andre Lewandowski winning the AM class for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. So Conrad and Pacarina, good weekend's work for them. Victory and a third place. Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva, I would guess, have got a flight, given the representative from Sporting U, who has made it to the rostrum. Giulio Borlenghi and Andre Lewandowski to the step of the AM podium. And again, the AM Championship going to be fascinating to watch. But Lewandowski and Borlenghi, they were right up there coming into today's race, and a maximum points haul is going to help them no end. It's been a good weekend as well for the Sporting U Mercedes team. 2 trips to the rostrum for Coimbra and Silva. So the International GTOpen season will continue on the 1st and 2nd of September at Silverstone. Got 6 more races to come. It's going to go all the way to the wire at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. As the drivers pose for the photos and then are about to make merry with the bubbly, it's time to say thank you very much for joining us at the Hungaroring this weekend. We hope that you've enjoyed the action as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. And we will see you at Silverstone in September. Until then, it's goodbye from Hungary.
Congratulations to teams and drivers.